Hi everyone, this is Cash Rocket with another video on using the Vol Stop Indicator to better time your entries and exits. What we're looking at today is Friday's chart of Google, and this is a 5-minute chart. So this is a perfect example of using an indicator on various time frames to suit your style of trading. Clearly a 5-minute intraday chart is perfect for active day traders or intraday traders. It is also available to use this indicator on a weekly or even monthly closing basis. However, for the purposes of this video, I thought this would provide a nice example on how you can use this indicator strictly on an intraday basis. So what we can see is on Friday there was a high volume gap down on Google, and you know, high volume, it's all relative, right? Volume always tends to be at the highest at the beginning and at the end of the day, and you can see the highest bar of the day was the opening print on the 5-minute candles, and the closing bar volume also the highest right at the end of the day, and everything in the middle is really just relative. But more importantly, once it gapped down, you can see the stock immediately went into vol stop sell mode, and that's of course relative to Thursday's close where it was up in a buy area here. So it drops down, it gaps down, you see the little gray circle here, and what is that? Let's call that 787 and change. The stock remained in vol stop sell mode all the way until basically late afternoon. At that point, you can see that the indicator switched to a vol stop buy, and now that is at approximately 778. So you were able to capture potentially 8 points to the downside, and all you had to do was either short the stock at the open and take the risk of, you know, not waiting for the first 15 minutes opening range to sort of settle. Some people, I know they like to wait the first 15 minutes and see how the stock settles out before they make a directional bet one way or the other. But as long as the stock stayed below that little gray circle all the way through, you actually could have felt quite confident in your short position, either via shorting the stock or buying puts or selling call spreads, however you want to say that. Now, you will notice mid-morning there was a sort of an acceleration in volume and a bit of a burst of buying volume. However, the stock never actually crossed high enough to switch it back into a vol stop buy mode. And not only that, you can also sort of make out that the exponential 20 MA, and this is again on an intraday basis, also provided sort of a form of resistance or a wall. So this is sort of a twofold situation where you could say the stock has to not only switch into vol stop buy mode, but also has to cross above a key intraday moving average for me to say this trend is definitively over. But fortunately, if you again had exerted some patience and shown some discipline, you could say, you know what, the stock is making a nice little counter move to the basic trend that I'm in, which is short, but I'm going to hang on and see if this moving average will hold as resistance, and secondly, that the vol stop indicator remains in sell mode. And sure enough, the stock did manage to go back down and sort of made its way, you know, in an undulating fashion all the way down until about 2:30 p.m. or so, when two things happened. Number one, the EMA, the 20 EMA to be precise, was broken to the upside, number one. Number two, the stock switched into vol stop buy mode, as you can see by the orange circle. And three, there was an increase in buying volume, and you can see that along the bottom here shaded. And again, this is relative to the rest of the day, but certainly potentially anybody who had been short coming into, you know, going into the session today, perhaps there was some short coming going on, maybe some fresh buyers near end of day, who cares? All we know is that if you've been short until this point, good job, take your money and get out of the trade. Now, if you wanted to be more aggressive, of course, you could also flip long here as well, cognizant of the fact that time is running out in the session, but that's neither here nor there. The point is once the stock actually did flip into vol stop buy mode, and your entry price would have been at approximately, let's call it 778 and change, it remained in vol stop buy mode right until the end of the session, where it closed at about 783. So you actually could have captured 5 points to the upside as well. You really were never in danger of getting stopped out from your short position if you had entered at the beginning of the session until later in the session, where it switched to a vol stop buy mode, and you were able to hopefully capture 5 to 10 points somewhere in that vicinity. And then when it switched to vol stop buy, being a completely mercenary trader, you know, not having any particular bias to the upside, to the downside, this is independent of what's happening in the outside market. Hopefully there's no events scheduled for Google that day that might impact, you know, midday conferences that might cause a sudden spike in, you know, volatility or whatnot. The fact is once this switched into vol stop buy mode, you could now safely take the other side of the trade and, you know, ride it as a buy right into the close. And certainly seeing this increased volume at the end of the day associated with green candlesticks does not hurt your long case. What would be completely irresponsible is being short Google through the day, seeing a change like this develop, and saying, you know what, I'm going to see what happens here and maybe hold on a little bit longer. That's just plain greed at that point. You need to take your profits where you can see them, and I think this is a pretty clear-cut case of using the vol stop indicator on an intraday basis to manage an excellent long entry, both from the short side and from the long side. Hopefully you found this to be of some use, and feel free to check out some other intraday 5-minute charts and see how you could have used the vol stop indicator to make you some bigger profits as well. This is Cash Rocket. Good luck, everyone.